You may be seated. Good morning and welcome to the 34th Annual Crimes Against Children Conference. I am Irish Burch, President and CEO of the Dallas Children's Advocacy Center, your host for the conference. Please help me recognize the North Mesquite High School ROTC, the Dallas Metro Police Pipes and Drums, and the Dallas Police Choir. Before I introduce those that are on stage with me today, can we take a moment to just celebrate that we are finally back in person after 2 very long years? And as with anything, there are a few kinks, so I just want to address the wall in the room. So we've had some challenges and the wall is going to stay up, but I want everyone to know the people on this side are not in timeout. We just have some things that we need to work out. For those of you joining us for the very first time, which is over 60% of our attendees, on behalf of myself, DCAC staff and board members, we send you a hearty Texas welcome. You are in for a learning experience like you've never had before. For those of you that are joining us once again, welcome back and thank you for your continued support. Now let me introduce the amazing individuals joining me on stage. Today, you will hear from Chad Barrett, the board chair for the Dallas Children's Advocacy Center. Our keynote speaker, Sonya Ryan of the Carly Ryan Foundation, and Chief Eddie Garcia of the Dallas Police Department. At this time, I would like to welcome Chief Garcia to the podium for remarks.
Good morning. I mean, that was weak. We're in Texas, y'all. Let's go. Good morning. All right, much better. As Chief of the Dallas Police Department, it is my great honor to welcome you to the 34th Annual Crimes Against Children Conference and to the great city of Dallas. I want to extend a special welcome to those that have traveled long distances to be here. We have attendees from all over the United States and from around the world, with representation from 29 different countries. The Crimes Against Children Conference, also known as the Dallas Conference, is a premier conference of its kind, providing training and a fantastic opportunity for networking with other professionals within your field. I'd like to thank you for dedicating your time this week to learning and sharpening your skills and strengthening your commitment to this work and the fight against all forms of child abuse and exploitation. Police officers, unfortunately, see firsthand the best and unfortunately the worst of humanity. They take their oath and realize the sacrifice they will have to make for the people they serve. You all see and work on cases that are unimaginable even to most seasoned officers. You know this because regardless of where you work, others have told you, and you've heard these words, I couldn't do what you do. You take on this role and make the sacrifice because of a calling within you. And as chief, I have great respect for the work you do. Thank you for making a difference in the lives of children. The work you do each day impacts our future and the generations to come. I would like to give special thanks to the Dallas Children's Advocacy Center, our partner for over 3 decades, providing healing and justice for victims of child abuse and their families in our community. Their coordinated multidisciplinary approach is the gold standard in the prevention, intervention, and investigation of child abuse. Lastly, I want to thank you for your attendance. And as representatives of your agencies and units, please take this message back and share it with those who could not be here today. We are proud that this is known as the Dallas Conference and that our great city is associated with such a great and noble training. Please enjoy all that our city has to offer while you're here, and please come back and visit us. And if you'd like to stay a little longer, the Dallas Police Department is hiring. Thank you.
Chief Garcia, thank you for your partnership with DCAC and commitment to our community. Before I dive into a few key announcements about what you can expect on this week, I want to acknowledge a few people and sponsors who helped us to get here today. The training you will receive at this conference would not be possible without our dedicated sponsors, partners, staff, and volunteers. I want to recognize our diamond sponsor, Meta, who continues to support us year after year. Thank you. And Google, who is returning once again as our gold sponsor. Thank you so much for all your support. Thank you to all the sponsors and training partners you will see on the following slides and in the conference app. Please be sure to connect with them and visit the exhibit areas on the first and second floors of the conference center. A special thanks to the team that executes this conference: Diana Smoot, Holly Hopkins, Aaron Bannister, retired Lieutenant Bill Walsh, Leanne Lozano, Lana Aarons, Kat Lozano, Bria Manning, Kiana Ward, and the entire DCAC staff and hundreds of community volunteers that are here with us today. This week, we have over 5,600 child protection professionals attending the conference. As the world has changed since we were last together, we have adjusted to the current landscape. We ask that you be patient as you move through the herd that happens when the sessions let out. You will notice several hand sanitation stations throughout the hotel for your convenience, and we have masks on hand for those who request them. To help with spacing out eating options, we added flexibility to the schedule for you to choose when you go to lunch. This year, we also offer late afternoon sessions on Monday and Tuesday. For your entertainment and networking opportunity, we have the Dallas Police Association hospitality event on Tuesday night. Thank you, DPA, for your continued support and partnership. And of course, we will still have the infamous Wednesday night celebration. Please remember that you will always need to wear your badge to enter sessions and conference events. The information shared during sessions is privileged content, and we want to ensure that those who have registered are the only ones that have access to the workshops. Please be sure to always display your conference badge. And yes, if you forget it, we will kindly, nicely, politely ask you to go back to your room. Please understand we're doing it really for your safety as well as protection of our field. If you should lose your badge by chance, you can purchase a replacement at the help desk. At any time, if you need assistance throughout the week, you can stop by the help desk or look for a volunteer in the blue t-shirts with conference team on the back. Our team is here to make sure you have the best conference possible. Please let us know how we can help. If you have not already done so, I encourage you to download the conference app as quickly as possible. It will be your guide throughout the week. It provides maps, workshop schedules, session handouts, and event information all in one place. If you need assistance downloading the app or with its features, please let a conference team member know and we'll be happy to help you. Before I take my seat, I want to leave you with a few thoughts about our vital work and what I hope this week means for you. Although I am new to this stage in this capacity this year, I've attended this conference since the 1990s as a Child Protective Services investigator. After 8.5 years as a state employee, I joined DCAC in 2003 as a forensic interviewer. My first week on the job was the week of the Crimes Against Children conference. And since then, I've attended this conference year after year while working in various roles at DCAC and the CACC world. During my tenure at DCAC, a large part of my time was spent managing our partner relations and our multidisciplinary team, also known as the MDT. Now, anyone who knows me know that I love the MDT model. After over 27 years of working on these cases without the model and then with it, I believe there's no other way to do it. Bringing all the disciplines together to lend their expertise and diverse perspectives helps to ensure that the cases are investigated thoroughly. It also provides our families with the best possible services and support. But I've been in this world long enough to know that not everyone shares my fascination with this model, and not everyone has the privilege of working with an MDT. but here's where we can all agree. The past 2 years have challenged our teams in ways we could have never imagined. While everyone else was locked down inside their homes, the people in this room were going full steam ahead, doing everything required to keep children safe in their communities. Child protection workers found new and creative ways to continue going into homes to assess safety. Medical professionals continue to show up for their hospital shifts to render aid. Attorneys figured out ways to move forward with trying cases to ensure families receive justice. Interviewers, clinicians, advocates, and CAC staff members worldwide continue to find creative ways to see families. They continue providing the safety that so many needed for those children to tell their story and receive the much needed support to start on their journey to healing. And finally, law enforcement. When the world seemed to close in on you, you continue to show up for duty with the determination to fulfill your call to protect and serve. So after a few challenging years, as we sit here today as one large MDT, and that's right, that's how we're going to function on this week. It's going to be one large MDT. I have 3 commitments I would love for you to embrace and take back to your teams. First, we are all called to the commitment of protecting children. Everything you will hear on this week is meant to add to your toolbox and take back to your community. With those tools, you can create a better system and process that will help ensure the safety of children. Our children need us now more than ever. Predators are coming for them relentlessly with different ways to gain access and cause them harm. You are here this week because of your commitment to learning best practices and new techniques to help you stay in front of predators. As you pick your sessions and take your notes, know that the information you are learning could be the key to saving a child's life or keeping a child from ever being harmed. So our first commitment is to remain committed to the call to protect children. The second commitment I want you to take back to your team is the commitment to protect yourself. You can only protect children coming across your desk if you do the things needed to care for yourself. We all know that one of the first rules of flying is to put on your oxygen mask first before you put it on those who are dependent on you. Don't be too proud to ask for help. Practice self-care however that looks for you, and do what is needed for you to refill your cup and recharge. So remember, our first commitment is to protecting children, and secondly, we will not forget to protect ourselves. This final commitment is just as important, but often overlooked and abandoned more than the other 2. The third commitment I want you to take back with you is the commitment to protect each other. No one understands you or this world better than the person sitting next to you. The work we do requires that we are thrust into the limelight, where we're often scrutinized for things that we either did or did not do. Many of you have traveled here with your teams, your coworkers, and MDT members. Many of you are sitting next to them right now. So as you look around and you look about down the aisles, think about everything you know about them. You know about their families. You know about their children. You know about their vacations. You know about their work ethic. They are all people you know and trust. They are your friends. I encourage you to remember that when the outside world comes calling. We are all one MDT, because at the end of the day, we win as a team and we lose as a team. We stand united against those who wish to bring harm to us, our children, and our MDT friends. And it's no secret that law enforcement has faced some very challenging times in the past years. And let's be honest, they're the ones on the teams who everyone perceives as to be the most tough members and nothing bothers them. We've all said it before, oh, that's law enforcement. They'll be fine. But here's what I believe. We need each other and they need us. They are the only ones on the MDT with a dual role to protect and serve. Yes, we are all called to protect the children we serve, but they're called to protect the children, their families, and all of us. So let me give you a demonstration to show you what I mean. Chief Garcia, would you come stand right here? For his detail, I'm not gonna do anything. But don't come running on the stage. So here's an example. If bullets rang out in this room right now on this stage, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna duck and I'm gonna hide behind Chief Garcia, because what I know If Chief Garcia's job is to protect me, and he's going to shield me. But what I want Chief Garcia to know is when the world comes at him with their word bullets, I'm not just going to stand right here and say, oh, that's law enforcement, they're all right. As his MDT member, I'm going to stand right beside him. And I'm going to stand here when the world comes calling. And every once in a while, I'm going to look over at him and say, I got you. You're not alone. But the world we know is extremely relentless. So when the world continues to come at him, what Chief Garcia needs to know is Eddie's MDT, I'm also willing for a change to stand in front of him and shield him. Because when the world says, that law enforcement is this and that, I'm going to tell them, let me tell you about a man I know. Let me tell you about Eddie Garcia that gets up every single day and goes into the community to protect and serve. Thank you, Chief Garcia. Let me tell you about the 27 different law enforcement agencies that are in Dallas County, with over hundreds of child abuse detectives that get up, booted and suited every single day, and go out with a call to protect. Now, I'm using law enforcement as an example, but I could stand here all day and call out names of CPS workers, interviewers, advocates, all of these different people that do our work every single day because they've been called. They know what it takes to get the job done. We are making sure that our prosecutors are here. We're making sure that our advocates are here, our doctors are here, our nurses, social worker, clinicians. They do it every day. They put on their armor and they go out to battle. So this third commitment, I was hoping you would not forget, is to protect each other. As I prepare to relinquish my stand, I know you are wondering, who is this obsessed woman going on and on about this MDT model? Well, let me tell you who I am today, who I was before I stepped into the CEO role, and who I will be when I step off this stage. I am an MDT member that's committed to protecting children. I'm an MDT member that's committed to protecting myself to ensure longevity in this field. But more importantly, I'm an MDT member. I'm Eddie's MDT member. I'm your MDT member that's committed to protecting each and every one of you. My team knows that I like to say, we are better when we are together. You need to know you have support in this room, not only from your individual MDT members. This is your MDT member, and you need to know I got your back. So now you will hear from Chad Barrett.
Thank you, Irish. My name is Chad Barrett. I'm the board chair for DCAC. How fortunate and lucky are we to have Irish as our CEO and leader? It is my pleasure to introduce you to Sonya Ryan, founder and CEO of the Carly Ryan Foundation. Her beautiful daughter, Carly, was 15 years old when she was murdered by a predator she met online. Sonya has now dedicated her life to protecting children and ensuring their online experiences are positive and safe. Please help me welcome Sonya Ryan.
Good morning, everybody. It is an absolute honor to be here with you all today. My hope is that I can contribute to your experience in a positive and inspiring way. My daughter Carly was groomed online by a predator posing as a young boy. His name was Brandon Kane. Brandon was in fact fictitious, an internet construct, the cyberspace alter ego of Gary Francis Newman, a 50-year-old predator and pedophile. Gary Newman spent months masquerading as Brandon Kane, using the voice and live video feed of his own 17-year-old son to win Carly's love. He managed to infiltrate our lives using this persona, along with multiple profiles of fake family members to back his elaborate stories. He convinced my daughter to meet him alone without telling me, He and his son took her to an isolated beach about an hour away from our home, and there he brutally murdered her. The moment detectives walked into my home following my missing persons report, I knew something was terribly wrong. My heart racing when I saw one of the attending police officers standing at my back door with tears rolling down his face. Nothing prepared me for what I was about to hear. We have located the body of a girl matching the description of your daughter. I was asked to attend the identification process at Major Crime Headquarters the next morning. The next few hours were excruciating, pacing, trying to reassure my family that the police must have made a terrible mistake. How could this be possible? Sure, Carly would walk in the door at any moment. The following morning, I was taken to do what no parent should ever have to. As the curtains were pulled back, I was confronted by the beaten, lifeless body of my only daughter. At that moment, my life fell apart. How am I going to survive this? This is the end. Within 11 days, detectives located Gary Newman in Victoria, Australia. They found him at his computer, logged in as Brandon Kane, talking with a 14-year-old girl in Western Australia. They arrested him, charging him with Carly's murder. In the groundless grief, time seemed to simply stop. Every excruciating process seemed to blur into the next. The disbelief, I was completely at the mercy of this living hell. I was offered countless drugs to numb the pain, but somehow I knew if I took any of them, I would lose connection to myself and to my daughter. I knew I had to face the pain head on, to feel it, waiting for my heart to simply stop beating in the process. I was fortunate enough to be invited to spend 10 weeks in France with the Dalai Lama's team and the author of the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying. And as difficult as it was to be forced to sit with my grief without any distractions, the insight I was given there was invaluable. I was shown how to remain present and how to transform my suffering. There were so many gifts in the sorrow, an enormous sense of clarity and connection. I knew I had to do something moving forward. In a Supreme Court trial which continued for over 3 months, a jury found Gary Francis Newman guilty of murder. He was sentenced on the 31st of March 2010. South Australian Justice Trish Kelly ordered him to serve a life sentence behind bars with a 30-year non-parole period. His son was acquitted and went on to offend against other teenage girls, eventually receiving a 35-month sentence for multiple offences. I could not focus on my daughter's suffering or on the continued offending and inadequate sentencing of Newman's son. How could I transform my own suffering into a way of helping others? How could I find purpose amongst this pain? Once the trial was finally over, I was able to incorporate the Carly Ryan Foundation to honour my daughter in the best way I could. I knew that technology was going to advance, and Carly was only one of many children that would fall victim to this horrendous crime type. We were becoming more connected than ever before. The significance of my daughter's murder went beyond what I felt. Carly was the first victim of a violent crime that was perpetrated through the internet in Australia. It is now my duty to do whatever is necessary to help prevent such suffering for other innocent children. Online child sexual exploitation is now a multi-billion-dollar industry. There is a clearly defined marketplace for trading in the sexual exploitation of children, and it's thriving. The focus areas would be education, creating awareness, legislative reform, survivor support, as well as advocacy for police. The Foundation supports law enforcement agencies and police units that work specifically in the online exploitation of children. We do all that we can to ensure that they have the resources and equipment they need to protect children. The Foundation maintains strong working partnerships at all levels of government to ensure that when we advocate for law enforcement, we are listened to and can achieve positive outcomes to support the police who are on the front line of this global crisis. Carly's legacy would give me the opportunity to help change the landscape of online safety in Australia, contributing to legislation to establish the Australian Office of the E-Safety Commissioner, a platform to successfully engage with the Australian Federal Government to secure funding for the Australian Centre to Counter Child Exploitation, and contributing to various Australian parliamentary proceedings. I am now very fortunate to be able to contribute to a number of working groups to advocate for positive change. I'm also able to represent survivors, to be a voice for those who are unable to share their own due to trauma, portfolio restrictions, or internal regulations. The Carly Ryan Foundation delivers online safety workshops and healthy relationships education through our Project Connect program. The Foundation's approach is about building on the emotional intelligence and critical thinking of young people, enabling them to make better choices, to have respect for others, build resilience, and enable positive communication. Carly's lived experience creates connection and often gives young people the confidence to step forward, share their own experiences, and request help. Project Connect is delivered in harmony with the Australian National Curriculum, and my hope is to introduce this program here to enhance protective behaviours and empower communities. The Carly Ryan Foundation is now a registered 501c3 in the United States. And I'm excited to stay and expand my daughter's legacy here. I'm actually living here in Texas. The other area of focus for me was legislative reform. I could clearly see that there were gaps in legislation. Law had not caught up with current technology. Police were unable to arrest an offender until after they harmed a child. What could I do to change this? Carly's legacy was enshrined in legislation in June 2017 with a bill for Carly's Law passing through Australian Federal Parliament. I wanted to give law enforcement the ability to arrest an offender before they were able to meet up with a child. A stricter version of Carly's Law was passed in her home state of South Australia in 2018. Carly's Law is used in a proactive, preventative way by the Australian Federal Police. It allows police to commence an investigation earlier and to take action against offenders before a predator has met or harmed a child, and with greater consequences. It allows investigators to conduct lawful, covert online operations targeting individuals they suspect of falsely representing who they are in order to engage children for a sexual purpose. Where Carly's Law is used, the investigation often reveals the offender has already engaged in more serious child sex offending, such as grooming or contact offending. In these instances, police are able to charge an offender with more serious crimes. It has been made clear to the Foundation that without Carly's Law, the initial investigation and covert online engagement might never have occurred. There has been interest in Carly's Law from multiple governments around the world, including here in the US. And I'm happy to share that I met with the Governor's Office and Secretary of State at the Capitol here in Texas last year to discuss how elements of Carly's Law could be used to enhance current child protection laws here, as well as other amendments. Representative Morgan Meyer supported the draft of House Bill 3110 and House Bill 3111, which moved through the legislative process swiftly last session. These bills will address third-party solicitation offences and the change of terminology in legislation from child pornography to child sexual abuse material. Pornography is made for the pleasure of adults. It implies sexual pleasure and gratification, something created with the consent of adults. When children are offended against, it is a brutal rape and assault of a child. The term child pornography therefore contains false propositions, that is, pleasure and consent. We therefore need to change the term to more accurately reflect the behaviour being perpetrated in this crime, the sexualisation and sexual abuse of a child. Our hope is that these proposed laws will continue to progress when session commences again. And I will continue to have robust conversations around Carly's Law on both a state and federal government level. I have successfully lobbied for legislative changes in Australia that strengthen online grooming offences and would like to see other international jurisdictions follow suit. I believe prevention-focused legislation is so important. In addition, I would like to see the US federal administration expand on online safety so that all US children can have the benefit of being protected by a regulatory body. Australian lawmakers established the Australian E-Safety Commissioner. As far as the Foundation is aware, there is no federal body that has powers similar to the E-Safety Commissioner here. The Carly Ryan Foundation has developed a number of online safety resources that have been embraced by communities and shared globally. These include app fact sheets, an online safety contract, teachers toolkit, and other publications to support the safety of children. These can be found on our website, carlyryanfoundation.com. And please feel free to follow us on social media, share Carly's story, become her advocates, remain updated on my work here in the States and around the world. That would mean a lot to me. I'd love to connect with as many of you as I can while I'm here. Here are a few photos to share with you, snapshots of my journey, one that I'm incredibly grateful for, and I hope I can continue to impact as I expand my daughter's legacy here. And here are some photos of my darling, beautiful girl, who I miss every single day. My story is one of immense grief and suffering, but it is also one of endless love. I'm living proof that love exists beyond death. And if one can connect to that kind of love, then literally anything is possible. Beyond knowing that I'm doing this work for Carly and her legacy, there is one other true constant I'm reassured by: the dedication and determination of police officers here and every other person present who bears witness to the unnecessary suffering of children every single day. I am in awe of the hours you spend investigating the crimes we wish did not exist. I want to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for the work you all do to help protect the lives of innocent children. And I hope that what I've shared with you today strengthens your heart and sustains you in your work. Let us agree for now that we will not say that breaking makes us stronger, or that it is better to have had this pain than to have done without this love. Perhaps for now it can be enough to simply marvel at the mystery of how a heart so broken can go on beating, as if it were made precisely for this. as if it knows the only cure for love is more of it, as if it sees the heart's sole remedy for breaking is to love still, as if it trusts that its own persistent pulse is the rhythm of a blessing we cannot begin to fathom, but will save us nonetheless. Thank you.
Can you help me thank Sonya again for her vulnerability and her story and for introducing us to her daughter, Carly? We hope you have a great conference experience in 2022. We hope you learn a lot. We hope you meet new friends within the field and meet those that you haven't seen in quite some time and have some fun too. As we close, we ask that you please exit the ballroom as quickly as possible as we're going to flip this space for multiple classrooms for the 10:15 session. We've given you a little extra time this year for this first break to grab coffee, download the app, and locate your room. Thank you for clearing the room so quickly and have a great day. And don't stop to ask to get some help if you need any conference assistance. Thank you. Enjoy your conference.
Do what I can.